I threw the money on the floor. I'm on my knees, and I'm stacking the money, counting it. And a guy walking past saying, yeah, everything is here. Bring it. So I'm nervous, though. So I'm like, so where's the weed? Where's the weed? I felt something wasn't right.
This is Howie. Take one, camera A, Mark.
I'm from two Jamaican parents, mother and father, born in Jamaica. I was raised and born in New York. So my mom was 17, my dad was 19 when they had me. So I had young parents. My dad came up here and became an entrepreneur in the HVAC business. My mom was going to school, but then she had to drop out as far as college-wise to take care, you know what I mean? So then my mom and dad broke up when I was at the age of 2. You know, my dad was he's a nice looking guy, you know what I mean? Fit, play soccer, you know. My mom was a track star back in Jamaica. So I came from pretty good genes, so to speak, you know what I mean? But nevertheless, I'm here. So when I got here now, I was a bad kid, man. I was horrible. You know, I was always into something, you know? And I didn't know how to channel that. You know, I was just always a product of the streets. I was a, you know, young kid, very, how would I say, very intrigued by stuff. I always wanted to know how to fix this, how to do that, you know what I mean? I was just into everything. Until I was into the streets and I was just doing all kind of stuff. Mischievous kid, very mischievous. Until they had me in juvenile facilities my whole life, you know. At one point, they wanted to put me on medication. And my mom told them, nah, we're not doing that, you know. But when my dad and my mom broke up, my mom got into another relationship with my stepdad, you know. And they stayed together for about 20 years, I believe. You know, but he was a weed dealer. He sold a lot of weed in my neighborhood and the neighborhoods around us, you know. He was a Rasta. My mom was a Rasta. My biological dad was a bald head, you know. Me and him look alike. And he was an HVAC, as I was telling you. So from a youth, I kept being around my dad sometimes, working with my hands, learning the trade, you know. And then my stepdad was selling a lot of weed. So I used to always help him bag up a lot of weed at night. You know what I mean? And I remember a time I was about 6 or 7.
How were you bagging weed at 6 or 7?
6 or 7, I was bagging up weed. Pounds of weed. Word. And the reason why I can remember this vividly, because my sister Georgette was born in 75. And she just, you know, she was like toddler, 1 or 2. You know what I'm saying? And I'm 5 years older than her. So you know what I mean? That's how I could vividly remember my age, you know? So we would always watch Star Trek at night, you know what I mean? Eat hard-o bread, you know, toasted with the government cheese, drink Milo. You know, for Jamaicans, they know what that is, you know what I mean? And we used to bag hell of a weed. Then I had barrels of weed in my living room, barrels. I'm talking about like 3, 4 barrels full of weed. Now, that's with my mom life. Then I go with my dad's side now, and my dad had me fixing refrigerators, AC units. I know all about AC units and refrigerator. Then we building restaurants together, you know what I mean? At a young age. Until my dad had the club. Now I get a little bit older now. My dad had the business, refrigeration business, and around the corner was the club, you know? And I remember one story when I was young. My dad bought me a bike for my birthday. And when he brought me this bike, man, he took me to the bike store and he says, you want a bike? I said, yeah. So he went in the bike store, he asked the guy, what's the most expensive bike you got in here? The guy said, sir, this one right here. And I went over there and I looked at it. And my dad said, boy, you like the bike there? And I said, yeah. He told the guy, bring it down. The guy brought it down. I'll never forget it. My eyes lit up. I was like, this. Blue and white bike with stars on it. I said, yeah, Dad, I like this. And this was in the 70s, mind. You know what I mean? So he paid for it and I got the bike. And he took the bike back to the shop on Jerome Avenue, like 176 in Jerome, straight hood. You know what I mean? So he says, okay, while I'm going on a job, you would ride the bike from corner to corner. Don't leave this block. So I'm like, all right, Dad. I started riding the bike back and forth. Till I got tired of riding that one little corner. I started bending the corner now, coming down, going up the other street. Now I get around the corner and the Spanish kids is around the corner. You know, fire hydrants on, you know how it is. So when Spanish dude says, yo, man, can I get a ride? I said, yo, my dad said not to let nobody ride. He was like, nah, man, please, man, I'll be your friend, man, I'm not going nowhere. I said, all right, man, don't go nowhere. He said, all right. I let the dude ride my bike, man. That motherfucker took off, man. Had me standing there for hours waiting for him to come back, and he never came back. Broke my heart. So I went back to the shop. I didn't say anything. My dad didn't notice. So when we went to the shop the next day, Dad said, yo, Dad looking around. Why with the bike there? And I says, I let this guy ride, and Pops took that damn hose and whooped me, man. He whooped me so goddamn bad, man. I was sick. I had whelps on my leg. You see, when Pops went on the job, Pops came back, I had 4 bikes. Pops was bugging. Where the fuck you get these bikes from? I said, look here, man. Somebody took my bike. I'm going to get 4 bikes. I stole 4 bikes and brought it to the shop. Pops was tripping. He was like, yo, you got to get these shits out of here. So that's how my life of crime started, right then and there. My brain just said, okay, this is it. This is how y'all want to play? It's on and popping. And that's how I became, you know, the criminal lifestyle that I started. Then from there, man, I just became a fucking criminal. Thief, robbing, selling drugs, whatever.
Take me to 16 years old. You moving from doing the little weed stuff you was doing with your step pops to getting in something that's white, that comes with a lot more charges.
Yeah.
Allerton. Take me to Allerton in the Bronx.
Yeah, well, you know, I grew up around Allerton. And then from Allerton, I moved to Baychester area. You know, so in Allerton, I used to hustle on the block and move a lot of coke. Now I'm selling weed and coke. You know what I mean? To the point now, I go up there with my cousin, because he lived up on Baychester, and I start hustling with him. To the point now, we start going out of town. You know what I mean? So now we out of town in Virginia, hustling crazy. To the point where we was bringing kilos down there, and we was the man. Like, you know, it was nothing we didn't have. Cars, girls, jewelry, whatever. Guns, a lot of gunplay. You know what I mean? A lot of money moving around, a lot of shit, a lot of crazy shit. You know what I mean? So it was a couple separate crews. It was me, my cousin, and us, and then it was my other boys. I thought it was my boys, but they was really like backbiters. You know what I'm saying? They didn't really care about me. So as time shit went on, you know, shit happened to the point where one of them got caught. They started telling. They started telling on me. Process, I get out of prison, find out he's telling on me, so I bring it to the attention of the main guy. I said, yo, your boy's telling. How he get caught with so much work and get right out? He gonna tell me, nah, man, he cool. I said, yo, you gotta get rid of him. Me, I wanted to kill him. I wanted to kill every goddamn body, but because I didn't want to go to prison, you know what I'm saying? And I tried to get him to take care of it, but he wouldn't take care of it. Anyway, long story short, that same guy brought both crews down, my crew and their crew. So at the same time, I'm sitting in prison, about to get 35 years. I got 35 years for what these guys do, you know what I'm saying?
Howie, what was the charges, if you don't mind me asking?
Conspiracy to possess and distribute coke and crack cocaine and guns and all that type of stuff.
Do you think if your crew would have listened to you and got rid of the snitch that you said was snitching on you because you seen him in prison, do you think things changed differently for you and your crew?
No, we still was going down. No matter how you look at it, we still was going to, all of us going to prison. That's just how wild and crazy we was. You know what I'm saying? We all was going to prison, no matter what. So you can't just look at me and say, I'm the cause of you going to prison. Motherfucker, we all got indicted together. You know what I'm saying? You decided you want to stay and fight and thinking it's a game. This shit wasn't a game back in the days. The government was giving out a lot of time.
So from what I know, you got 9 years with the feds, right? For the drugs. I mean, you end up doing 9 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got additional 5 years.
2 years.
Additional 2 years for shooting someone.
Right.
Explain that process. Just explain those 11 years you did in jail, how you educated yourself, how you even got your sentence reduced even shorter throughout that process in the feds.
Well, yeah, I had 2 years for shooting this guy, right? He was a problem, and I popped him up. He ended up telling on me, and I hurried up, pay some money to the lawyers, and got a knockdown from malicious wounding to unlawful wounding because he had got paralyzed on one side of his body. I paid him like $50,000. And then the lawyers, I gave him another $50,000. Anyway, that was kind of like a little blessing. So I had to hurry up and do that. So I didn't get, you know what I mean? Because the guy is maimed for life. I'm not proud of none of this type of stuff, you know what I mean? It kind of hurt my heart to see that, the type of individual I used to be. So that I had to grab those 2 years really fast. Now with my federal sentence now, from the 35 years that they gave me, they reduced it down to 15. And they gave me 10 for the drugs, 5 for the guns that they found in my house. So when that guy I was telling you about snitched on us, the feds came in my house that morning and found 5 guns. And that was count 28 of the indictment. Out of a 34-page indictment, that was count 28. I pled guilty to that count because they had the physical guns in court. Every time I would go to court, they would have all these guns out. So they made me plead guilty to that. But nevertheless, that was the 924C charge, right? And that 924C gave you a mandatory 5 years. So one day I used to go to the law library and research the law a lot, even though I had a 15-year sentence. And my release date was 2007. Keep in mind, I got locked up in 91. And my release date is 2007. That's a long way, dog. Don't forget past that. What about the 35 when my release date would have been 2032?
You wouldn't even be interviewing right now. You would still be locked up.
You know what I'm saying? Which I didn't see the sense in that. Anyway, the whole object was to try to get out, not stay in. Anyway, when I got it down to the 2007, I used to go to the law library every day. I was in the penitentiaries, and there's a lot of lifers in there. I see guys getting killed, guys never coming home, all kind of shit. And keep in mind, I was in Terry Hut at this time. They had the death penalty in Terry Hut on D Block. That was just right down a couple units from me, which they had Timothy McVeigh there and a few other guys. That was on death row. You remember Timothy McVeigh? Yeah, he's the bomber. So I seen him a couple times. That's crazy, right?
It's real crazy, man.
So I was in there with a lot of mobsters and all kind of people, for all kind of shit, man. I was never coming home again. But I used to go to the law library every day, man, every day faithfully. And the Supreme Court came down called United States versus Bailey. So it was a gun case, a 924C case. And Supreme Court says you cannot give a guy 5 years if he never actively employed the firearms, meaning he never used it. So I said, I never used my guns. You know what I mean? When the feds came in my house, they found 5 guns everywhere. Gun in the kitchen, gun in the bedroom, gun in the closet. You know what I mean? I never actively employed these firearms. So the case clearly states that you had to possess the gun on you. You had to have been striking somebody with it, bartering, trading it for drugs, or having it on a table while the drug transaction was going down and make a reference to your gun being there. So I said, damn, I never did any of those things. I think I got a shot at getting these 5 years taken off of me. So I called my lawyer, which was a paid attorney. He had owed me some money. So I called him and said, hey man, do you know about the Bailey case? He says, I do. I said, I think that pertains to me. He said, nah, Miller, do your time, man. Your case happened way before that, blah, 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 blah. I looked at the phone, I said, this motherfucker crazy. Bang! Banged up the phone, I was mad as shit. I went to a law library, and there was a white boy up there named Larry Dusenberry from out of Ohio. Never forget him. Larry was like a lawyer, the way that motherfucker had. You would go to his cell, that motherfucker had case laws stacked up to the ceiling. To the point the warden came in there, the warden says, yo, you gotta get rid of some of this shit. It's a fire hazard. That's how much case law this guy had. But he was real knowledgeable with the law. So I went to him, I said, yo, Larry, listen, check this out. This is my situation. And I told him. Larry told me exactly what to do. Write the clerk, get your transcripts, do this, do that. I did everything he told me to do. I got my Rule 11 transcripts, and when I got it, I read it, and I seen that I didn't actively employ the firearm. So I brought the case to Larry. Because Larry lived on one end of the prison, I lived on the other end. So they would have 15-minute moves. So I would they call it a 15-minute move to get from point A to point B. And I would run down to Larry unit, Larry come out the unit, what's going on, buddy? I said, yo, read this. I got the transcripts. So I gave Larry the transcripts. He said, see me in the next hour. I said, okay. So I run back to my unit. They closed the movement. So I'm in the unit pacing, waiting for the next move. Waiting. They call a 15-minute move. I run back down to Larry unit. Larry comes out. Hey, he comes out with the transcript in his hand. Buddy, you got him. And on a piece of paper was his number and his ID number, name and ID number. He says, send me $500. I'll put the motion together for you. I said, okay, Larry, you got it, man. I ran back to the unit. I got on the phone. I said, Ma, send this guy's number. Take this number. Give me send the money. She sent the money. Larry put it on his books. Larry typed up the fucking motion, man. I sent that bitch to the courts. Right? Boom. Now this is months. The motion's in. I'm doing my prison shit. Working out, whatever. Gambling, you know what I mean? Living prison life. So I get into a stabbing. I stabbed these DC dudes. So they moved me from Terre Haute, Indiana to Florence, Colorado. Right, maximum prison. So when I get to Colorado, I'm there for maybe about 2-3 months. And they call me for mail. Miller, you got mail. I said, me? Who the fuck writing me? You know what I'm saying? So the white guy came, he says, hey man, I think it's from the courts. I'm like, damn nigga, you fucking clocking my shit like that? You know what I mean? That's how nosy motherfuckers is in prison. So I go to the CEO, I say, yo, what's up, man? I got some mail. He says, yeah, you got your ID? So I had to give my ID. I seen it was from the clerk of the district court. I said, oh man, fuck. I forgot about this shit. Because here it is, 9 months later, since Larry did the motion, and they moved from prison to prison. So I said, oh fuck. So I go upstairs to the cell, and I tell my bunkie, Wayne, I said, Wayne, get the fuck out. I gotta use the bathroom. Wayne gets out. I put the curtain up. I take off all my clothes. I sit on the toilet. I put the chair in front of me. Yo, you talking about nervous? Man, I'm shaking. I'm shaking like a leaf as I'm reading. I'm speed reading. And I'm looking for the bold letters. The bold letters I'm looking for is either denied or vacate. You follow me? So when I ran across that fucking word that said vacate, count 28, man, I bust up the toilet. That's how nervous I was. Fuck the toilet up. Everything just came out of me. I was like, whew. So now I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, my release date was 2007. And if you take off the 5 years, that's 2002. Keep in mind now, this is like 1997. I'm in Colorado. I'm like, damn, that's still a fucking ways away. You know what I'm saying? But it's better, I can see it now. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's getting closer now. You know what I mean?
Now let's fast forward to 2002. You get out of jail. You head straight to New York. Talk to me about that.
Okay, now 2002, when I get out of prison now, right? I become a carpenter. I get in the carpenters union, and I learned how to become a carpenter. I was an apprentice. So I'm building big buildings with the white boys, and we doing our thing. You know what I mean? I'm learning to the point where my skills, my carpentry skills, developed. So now I started to do a lot of side projects in my neighborhood, because everybody were like, "Yo, what you up to? What you doing now?" And I'd be like, "Yo, I'm a carpenter." So they was like, "Oh, I got some work at the house. Can you help me?" And that's how I was doing a lot of work for people in my neighborhood. So I bought my van, I got my tools, you know what I mean? And I'm using my guys that taught me the trade that I used to work with. You know what I'm saying? So I started my construction, that's how I started my construction company called Mill Construction. And then now I took that to the next level, made it corporate, more corporate. So I became a minority contractor by registering with the Small Business Services of New York.
MWBE.
MWBE, yep.
They emailed
And
me
then I was a
yesterday.
DB, I was a MWBE, LBE, and I was a DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, through the federal government. And I was looking for my 8A certification to start doing government federal projects as well. But I was doing schools, hospitals, I did Ride Playland, I did Grand Central Terminal, I did SUNY Downstate, I did Jacoby, I did all kind of projects, $1 million contracts. And I had 23 guys working for me. So, again, I didn't see no sense in me being in prison. You know what I mean? When I knew I could become somebody else, you know? But nevertheless, in order to get on that level, I needed money. And that's the money I didn't have. So I went back to the streets. So when I asked my friends and my family for some support financially to help me start the business on that level, nobody would give it to me. So I said, you know what? I know how to get my own money. And I put $5,000 in my pocket and I jumped on a plane and went to Arizona.
What year is this?
This was in 2003.
So this is before Mill becomes $1 million company.
Right.
So this is how you funded to get Mill to that union level and all these contracts.
Absolutely. Because now the monies that I'm making from selling weed, I'm pumping the monies into the construction company.
And you cleaning it.
I'm cleaning the fuck out of it. So instead of paying you your $1,000 paycheck, you know what I mean? I would give you cash. So when these companies was writing me for my requisitions that I was putting in, say I bid it on a job and it was a $2 million job, but we broke it, the schedule value up, broke it up into pieces. So once I complete a certain percent of the work, they would give me percentage of the money. So I would collect $300,000 checks, $240,000, whatever. I would collect these big lump sum of checks. And I would put it in my bank account. You know what I'm saying? But now I would use my cash that I was selling weed to pay you, I would pay everybody and keep the cash in my bank account.
From the legit money from the contract.
From the legit money. That's how I was cleaning money.
Now let's take me back a little bit before we get into how Mill became this big time company. Tell me what happened in 2003 that catapulted you to even getting the funds to turn Mill to what you wanted it to be.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I to get the funds now, I had to go to Arizona. And when I went to Arizona, I was, hollering at the Mexicans. I was at the border. I'm sitting out at the border. As the Mexicans crossing weed, I'm buying it right from them. Then I'm putting it in the mail and I'm sending it back to New York. So when I send it back to New York now, somebody got to receive the package. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I would fly back to New York and I would receive the packages. Until one time, I sent one package to my house because I had so many boxes coming. And man, oh man, I got caught. The fucking people brought me the package. I never forget it. I looked out the window and I seen a guy in a UPS truck. So I said, oh, the fuck? I seen him put on a jacket. I said, oh, fucking UPS guy put on a jacket. But then again, he came upstairs and he was like, yo, John, I forgot what name I used. And I said, yeah. And he said, sign here. And I signed it, just scribbled. And he pushed the package on me. And I says, UPS guys don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I took the package, closed the door. I left the package right at the door, and I went to the window again, and I'm looking in the window. And I see him take off the jacket, and he goes like this and pull out a badge. Oh my God, my heart nearly dropped.
You won your out, so you on parole at this time.
Exactly.
Oh man.
So now I seen the rest of them starting to gather up, and they putting on vests and all kind of shit. So now I know, I said, oh shit, this the fucking cops. I pick up the package, I run out the house, and as I'm running up to the roof, there was an officer coming down the stairs. He bumped me, the package dropped. I looked at this motherfucker and he looked at me, he kept going. And I says, this nigga never been in my building before, it's gotta be a fucking cop. You know what I'm saying? So I pick up the package, I go up on the roof, and all I heard, he went to the roof, he went to the roof. So now about 10 cops run to the roof. Now I took the package and threw it off the roof. This was about 25 pounds of weed. I done chucked off the goddamn roof trying to get rid of it. And they grabbed me on the roof, handcuffed me, took me down. They went in the back, yeah, they found the weed, they locked me up. So that's how I ended up getting locked up for that, which was in 2003. Yeah, about 2003. I ended up getting out on bail, and I told my probation officer what happened. And she let me stay out on bail. They never violated me right then and there. So I ended up fighting the case for about a year and a half until they was like, you're going to jail, buddy, for 10 pounds of weed. But in the process of me fighting the case, guess what I'm doing? I'm still selling weed. Back to Arizona.
Wow.
Facts. Facts. I couldn't stop selling weed. I was addicted. So I'm selling weed like fuck. Now I'm bringing hundreds of pounds on an 18-wheeler.
Hold on. Let's stop there.
Well, what happened?
How did you get the 18-wheeler? Who's driving this truck?
Okay.
You working with the cartel? Like you got to give me the details here, man. This getting good.
This shit is crazy, man. Because
and this is all documented for everybody who's watching today. You can Google Howie. This is all real. I've read you in some major papers. But for what the papers didn't get, they skim over this. They said Mexican cartel, you was moving thousands of pounds. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But for the audience and people who've never heard from you directly, give us the detail. For that year and a half, how do we get a truck? How do you start moving for them? What happens?
Okay, so now my man Mikey, right, that owns a body shop.
There's always a Mikey in the Bronx who owns a body shop.
Yeah, Mikey, my dude.
About 6 of them.
But listen, the crazy shit is Mikey, my co-defendant too. Let me tell you.
Oh God.
Mikey dirty as fuck. So I'm over by Mikey's shop. So Mikey got a Land Cruiser there. So I said, Mikey, what are you doing with that damn Land Cruiser? He said it belonged to African. He went to Africa. Now come back for now. I said, all right, well, let me pawn that shit. Mikey said, go ahead. I put paper tags on the fucking Land Cruiser. I done borrowed some paper tags from somebody and drove that Land Cruiser from New York to Arizona and pawned it for some weed to get back on my feet. The Mexicans gave me 100 pounds for it. And I told them, yeah, when I sell 100 pounds, I'll be back, to get back the truck. So here it is, I got 100 pounds of weed. I'm scared to put it in the mail because I don't want it to get caught. So I asked Mike if he know anybody that's in the area that could probably pick it up. He calls my other friend, Nick. Excuse me, Nick is a truck driver. Nick says, oh, I got somebody. So he calls the other guy named Tom. So Tom, where you at? Tom says, I'm over here, so-and-so, California. He said, man, swing by Arizona for me and pick up something. Tom said, no problem, man. Tom sounded like a white boy on the phone. When every time I talked to Tom, I thought Tom was white. Until I seen him, he's a big black motherfucker. I was like, oh shit, nigga, I thought you was white. You know what I'm saying? So Tom came, I threw the goddamn package so fast in the truck. Tom fucking said, I'll see you on the next side, buddy, in a couple of days. I said, okay, Tom, I got you, man. I flew back to New York. Guess where Tom was at? New York waiting for me with the package. And that's how it all started. Because Tom was driving a car hauler. So we would put the weed in the trunk of the cars. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we was bringing it back on the car hauler. Until I started getting real smart about it and started doing all kind of shit to start bringing mad weed in the cars. You know what I mean? I got so ill with it that I was going to the rental place and I'm renting cars, taking off the license plates and the registration and putting all the cars on the damn car hauler and filling all the trunks up with weed. And when they come back, I would give you a car, I would give you a car, I would give everybody a car with about 200-300 pounds in it. You know what I mean? And then when I bring the car back to the rental car, they be like, damn, Mr. Miller, you didn't put no miles on it, but you had it for about 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't going nowhere. I fucking changed my mind. I took the plane.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
You're not even from Arizona.
No, but I used to be out there a lot.
Yeah, but eventually somebody got to know that there's a New York guy running in back and forth from Arizona, moving weight at this level. Who's the connect? Who is he working with? You from the streets, jealousy and enviness happens. Anytime, any moment throughout that journey, does something go left when you're making one of these transports? And I don't mean going to jail or getting caught, just like street internal issues.
Well, let me tell you what happened one time. One time I went out there with $400,000 cash, right? The truck was coming, Tom was coming with the 400,000. And my connect at the time didn't have any weed. So I had to go to somebody else. Somebody else put me on to somebody else. So when I went to these guys, I was telling them, they know I'm big money. I'm telling them, yeah, I got some money coming. I'm looking for it to buy. So they start showing me this strain of weed, this strain. They showing me mad weed, telling me, you know, the stories that they got a lot of weed. So I said, okay, I got a lot of money. I'll come every month and spend $400,000 with you. You know, they was like, all right, cool. When is the money coming? I said, soon. Because Tom is on his way. Take Tom a couple of days to get there. So Tom ended up being in New Mexico. I called the guys, I said, yo, the money soon come. The guy said, okay, no problem. My man, I go get the money off the truck and bring it to the house. It's like a movie. It's like, you ever seen Scarface?
Yeah.
When the guy was sitting on the couch, and when Tony Montana came in the house, he went underneath the fucking the pillow and he pulled out the gun. Yeah. That's how they did me. The fucking guy, I threw the money on the floor. I'm on my knees and I'm stacking the money, counting it, and the guy walking past saying, "Yeah, everything is here. Bring it." So I'm nervous though. So I'm like, "So where's the weed? Where's the weed?" I felt something wasn't right, and he was like, "Yeah, everything is here. Everything is here." And then the guy pulls out the gun while he's sitting on the couch. He pulls out the gun, and then the other guy come put the gun behind my head. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this? And it was like, yo, this is a fucking stick-up, nigga. Put your hands behind your fucking back. They start breaking out the duct tape and all kind of shit. So I said, yo, my nigga, I'm not getting tied up, man. We're not doing this, man. They said, shut the fuck up. And they fucking hit me right here. Goddamn scar. Bust my head. Blood kept gushing down in my eye. And I'm fucking wiping my eye, and I'm like, yo, listen, man, you already got the money. And they shut the fuck up, niggas punching me. Put your hand behind your back. And I says, I'm not putting my hands behind my back. And I'm kind of like fighting with these motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucker kept putting the gun on me. He had a big old 45, kept putting it to my leg like he wanted to shoot me. And I kept saying, yo, what the fuck you doing, my nigga? We ain't doing that, you know what I mean? So anyway, after me talking to them, trying to talk them out of the situation, you know what I mean? They said, okay, listen, you see that door right there? I said, yeah. He said, go through it. I said, listen, don't make sense to kill me or do anything to me. I said, it's for y'all. You know what I'm saying? It's for y'all. Everybody can't live with that on their conscience. I said, believe me, man. You know what I mean? Somebody gonna tell it. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, all right. I said, I'm not even from here. I'm from New York, man. You got the money already. Let me go on about my business. Nigga said, all right, listen, you see that door? Make it through that door. So I'm itching. I'm walking to the door, but I said, but please don't shoot me. Same time, blood keep coming down my eyes. I'm like, my shirt ripped, all kind of shit. Niggas done punch me all in the face, kick me, you know what I mean? So I'm like, all right, I make it to the patio. My nigga, I dive head first, you hear me? Land on my head, twist my shit. I jumped up, I'm walking through the alleyway, and I ripped off the rest of my shirt, and I'm like, these motherfuckers just robbed me, man. I said, these bitch motherfuckers, I'm mad as shit. You know what I mean? But I'm kind of nervous because I'm like, damn, I just got out of a situation. But I said, damn, they fucking took my money. You know what I mean? So I go back to the other Mexicans that I deal with, and I told them what happened. Them motherfuckers made cocktails and got the guns. And he said, okay, we're gonna go over there and kill everybody, Carlito. I said, yeah. So we got fucking cocktails, we got guns. We go over back to the fucking house. And our plan was to throw the cocktails in there. You know what I'm saying? And when they come out, we shoot them up. My nigga, that shit was a stage house. It wasn't even their house.
Oh, man.
It was like a, you know, when you're building a complex, they got like the demo house. That's exactly what it was, a demo house that they use for the robbery. Their niggas, the money was gone. Never seen them again. So that happened on Saturday, right? So I went back to the driver, Tom. So I said to Tom, I said, yo, Tom, man, I just got robbed. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? Oh shit, I came all this way for nothing. I said, yo, shut the fuck up, Tom, man. Let me figure this shit out, man. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck you gonna do? Man, my head was bleeding like, my shit was still hurt.
Before you continue the story too, like, is this 400, is this yours, or you like got multiple people money because you trapping and delivering and a plug for everybody?
Yeah, so in my neighborhood, everybody would look at me as the plug. So everybody would contribute to me, like this guy, he might give me 50,000, this might give me 30, 40,000. Everybody would throw it in the pot.
So there's people you got to answer to with that money.
Pretty much. And a lot of it is mine too. You know what I'm saying? But I got to, you know what I mean? Other people was like, yo, my nigga, you lost my bread. I said, no, fuck your bread, nigga, I almost got killed. You know what I'm saying? So I had to figure out a way to try to make good on them, but at the same time, you know what I mean? So they took my phones and everything, man. They just stripped me. So this happened on Saturday. So Tom gave me his phone, because Tom had a couple phones. So he gave me a phone. I called my baby mama. And I told her, I said, yo, listen, I need you to do me a favor. She said, what's that? I said, I need you to go on White Plains Road at this barbershop on 218 and go in there and look for Patrick. She said, okay. She said, but I'm at the baby shower. I said, yeah, when you finish with the baby shower, because the barbershop stay open late, okay? And look for Patrick. So she went there. Patrick wasn't there, right? So I told her exactly where to go to his house and ring the broken bell. So she went there and rang the bell. He answered. So he came, she said, come downstairs. Howie want to talk to you. So he came downstairs and I got on the phone. I said, yo, Patrick, man, I need them other Mexicans' phone number, the ones in Tucson. He said, yeah. He said, yeah. So he gave me the number. I never dealt with them guys before, the other Mexicans. They always wanted to deal with me though, because they know I always come down with big money, but I never gave him a shot. So anyway, I started talking to them. He gave me the phone number, and I called him, right? His name was Victor. Victor was my co-defendant, too. I will tell you about that. Victor, funny motherfucker. Big fat motherfucker, but he cool as shit, you know what I'm saying? So he gave me Victor's phone number, and I called him, and I was like, yo, Victor, I'm coming to see you. He said, all right, man, I'll be here. So I drove to Tucson. And the Mexicans, my original connect, that they ain't have shit, because I kept buying so much that they kept running out. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking for a bigger connect. That's how I ended up getting robbed. You know what I mean? But I should have fucking talked to Victor and them before, and instead of let these motherfuckers rob me. But anyway, I talked to Victor. I go out there, and I'm talking mad money shit to Victor. Victor, I said, yeah, Victor, man, the truck is loaded up with weed. I'm about to head back to New York. Victor said, man, when you gonna buy from me, man? I said, next time I come down, I'm gonna buy from you. I swear to God, I swear to God. He said, all right, man. He says, hold on, I got something, hold on. Remember now, my head is busted open, but I got a hat on. Nobody know, you know? So Victor said, can you do me a favor? I said, what's that? He said, man, I want you to drop off some weed in South Carolina. I said, I'm saying to myself, yes. I said, yeah, I could do it, Victor. I could do it, no problem. He said, but only on one condition. I need to see the truck. I said, I could let you see the truck. I said, but Victor, man, I don't really let people see my truck, man. He says, man, that's the only way. I said, but I'm gonna let you see it though. So we drove all the way from Tucson back to Phoenix. So when we get to Phoenix now, Tom jumps out the truck. Tom is like, yo, what are we gonna do, man? Oh my God. I said, shut the fuck up, Tom. Just shut up for 1 second, please. So Victor sees the truck. Victor says, oh man, he's got a fucking nice truck. Victor gets on the phone. Yeah, boss, I see the truck. So Tom comes to me and says, hey man, what's going on, man? I said, shut the fuck up, man. I'm about to get some weed, be quiet. You know what I mean? Because remember now, we broke. We trying to get back on. So he tells the boss, yeah, I see the truck. I said, Tom, I'll be back, okay? Tom says, okay. So Victor comes, Victor says, yo, you know South Carolina? Victor says, yeah. Tom says, yeah, I know everywhere in South Carolina. And this and that and blah, 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 you know? So the guy was like, oh, okay. Gets to the phone. All right, come on, we out. We go back down to Tucson. He tells the boss, yeah, he knows. They got it, he's good. So you know what they did? They gave me 400 pounds to bring to South Carolina. But I wasn't supposed to take the weed off the truck until the guy gives me the money. I said, yeah, man, I could do that for you, no problem. I got you. You know what I mean? So they put 400 pounds on the truck. I take the fucking weed, I give it to Tom. Throw it in the truck. Tom, so the Victor's telling him, Tom, yeah, man, go to South Carolina and go to the street, blah, 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 blah. So he's like, yeah, okay, no problem. So as Tom pulling off now, Victor's leaving. So when Victor leaves, Tom leaves, I call Tom on the phone. I said, Tom, go straight to New York. What do you mean? You said the guy said go to South Carolina. I said, motherfucker, who you working for, me or you working for them? No, I work for you. I said, well, go to fuck to New York then. He said, okay, boss. I said, I'll see you over there in a couple of days. He said, okay. I fly back to New York. Tom meets me in New York with the weed. So I get the phone, I call Victor. I said, yo, Vic, change your plans, man. I'm in New York. Victor said, what do you mean? Well, what about South Carolina? I says, man, I couldn't make it to South Carolina, man. We had to go to New York, man. But what about the guy? He started panicking. But what about the guy? I said, man, fuck the guy. I got it, don't worry. Oh, come on, Carlito, man. He started panicking, you could hear it in his voice. I said, man, I got you, man, don't worry. You know what I'm saying? Oh, man, please don't do this to me. I banged the phone on him. Right?
You crazy, man.
Banged the phone on him. Fucker kept calling like 6 times. I turned the phone off. I'm not answering. I threw the shit in the drawer. Sold all the weed. Gave Tom fucking 20,000. Here, Tom, hold that. Tom happy. You know what I mean? I sell the weed in about less than 2 weeks. 10 days to be exact, I remember. I called Tom, I said, Tom, you ready for another run? Tom said, yeah, man, let's get it. I threw all the money, I think it was like close to 300-something thousand. I threw it all on the truck. Flew back over there, you know what I'm saying? So I turned back on that same phone that Victor called me on. I had about 6,000 messages, 800 voice messages. So I'm not answering this shit. I just called Victor, and all you heard was, hello. I said, yo, Vic, what? Yo, who this? Carlito. Carlito, Carlito, where you at, man? How the fuck? I said, yo, I'm here. You here, Tucson? Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm at the McDonald's. Okay, 5 minutes. Yo, that motherfucker nearly broke his neck getting into the McDonald's, you hear me? He had a Maxima, I never forget, he had a Maxima. He came in that fucking McDonald's. That motherfucker jumped in the car and said, yo, Victor, I couldn't tell you right then, but I had got robbed, man, and I needed this to get back on my feet. And he was like, you got the money? I said, yeah, I got the money. Matter of fact, let me call Tom, see where he at. Tom, where you at? Tom said, I'm just coming out of New Mexico now. I'm on the 10, I'm pulling into Tucson in about 35, 40 minutes. I said, Victor, you heard that? He's here in 35, 40 minutes. Victor said, okay. He called the boss, the big boss, the cartel dude. Because remember, Victor is from Tucson, but he's like a broker. You know what I'm saying? The middleman with the cartel. You know what the big boss said? When y'all get the bread off the truck, bring the money and Carlito to me. I was like this, oh Lord have mercy. I'm in trouble again. Yo, my nigga, I get the fucking money. We bring it to fucking the ranch, because he had a ranch. And he used to train horses. You know what I'm saying? So he would spend all his fucking whatever money on horses and training them and trying to race the horses. Nigga had big money, man. So we bring the money over there, and he introduced me to the boss and whatnot. And boss see all the bread. And I says, listen, man, I really owe you 200 and something thousand, but this is like 350. You know what I'm saying? So I got like a little 100 and something for myself. So I'm gonna give you your money, and then I'm gonna spend 150. You know what the boss said? I don't need your money. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're a good guy. Give Carlito whatever he want. How much weed you want, Carlito? And I says, I don't know. And the big boss was like, I got a line of credit for however pounds I want. If I wanted 1,000 pounds, he would have gave me 1,000. The boss, I said, just give me 400. And the boss said, okay. And I said, how much I owe you for that? I said, well, it don't make sense for me to take 150,000 back to New York. I'm gonna pay down my bill. And the boss said, you know what you could do? You don't even have to come down here no more. Just send the truck. You send the truck and the money, and we'll load it up and send them back. I said, bet. And that's how that connect started. And from there, we was rocking.
So around how many pounds you think you was moving between Arizona and New York during that time?
Thousands.
Weekly, monthly?
I would space it like a month or two. Like a month and a half. I would take it easy.
Now, I'm a storyteller and I'm a writer. When does this go left?
Yo, my nigga, listen.
I already know it has to go left.
Yo, listen, man. I put $1 million on the truck of my own money to buy 2,000 pounds, because that's how much it was costing. Roughly about $450, $500 a pound. And the Mexicans gave me 2,000 on consignment. So with my 2,000 and their 2,000, it became 4,400 pounds. So May, I want to say May 23rd of 2010, the truck gets caught. When the truck gets caught now, you already know. Everything goes downhill at that point. You know what I mean? They caught the 4,000 pounds, man. And the motherfucking driver, of course, tells on me. Everybody keep telling on me. And here come the DEA. So the DEA was investigating me for a whole year after the bus because they couldn't get me right then and there. Because what happened was when the truck got caught, Victor normally follows the truck out of the state. This particular night, soon as the truck was leaving the yard that we had it in, there was a sheriff that automatically followed the truck. They was told whenever this truck comes out of here, to pull it over, because it could possibly have narcotics in it. You know what I'm saying? So that's how the truck ended up getting pulled over. Soon as he came out. Whenever that truck moved, it got something on it. Somebody told, you know what I'm saying? And I suspect who, but anyway. The truck gets pulled over. They ask the driver, are you carrying any narcotics? The driver says yes. He says, how much? I don't know, but a lot. So Victor drives past a couple times. Then he sees a whole bunch of cops there. So he goes to his cousin's house and switch vehicles. And then he come back. Truck gone. So Victor drive past the DEA headquarters. The truck is inside the goddamn DEA headquarters with the doors wide open. He calls me in the middle of the night. Yo, truck got busted. Said, what the fuck? My nigga, I jump up, stomach hurt. It's the instant diarrhea. I run to the bathroom, you know what I did. Bust up the toilet. I'm losing weight, fucking shaking. I'm like, oh my God, prison again? God damn. Anyway, I break the fucking phones, throw the shit in the ocean. Come out the next day to take my daughter to school. Why state troopers is following me. Remember, I was driving the M5 BMW at this point. You know what I'm saying? And I got my daughter in the back seat, and these fucking state troopers keep following me. And I'm like, damn, man, these niggas gonna pull me over any fucking minute. You know what I mean? They couldn't have a regular cop car following me because I would have left them. So they got state troopers following me. but they never pulled me over, man. So I go to one of my job sites. I'm so nervous that, you know, I wore suits every day because that's, you know, my business was up there at this point. I never got dirty no more. So I was so suited up and my shoes on and everything. My nigga, I was so nervous that I started working in my suit. I started getting dirty, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So I'm working in my suit, I'm fucking my clothes up, I'm just trying to get this shit off my mind, like, you know what I mean? And every time I see a white man, I'm looking like, I'm expecting these agents to come get me any minute. But they don't come until a year later. Word, they come a year. Because now they let the driver out. They let the driver out. That same time they popped him, right? Victor had called the driver. No, he called the driver had called Victor and said that he wanted to talk to him. And Victor was like, yo, meet me at the mall. But Victor was up the street, counter for watching him. And he was outside talking to him. So he was like, meet you at the mall? He said, yeah. So when he jumped in his Range Rover and he was driving to the mall, there was a black Chrysler following him with tinted windows. So Victor would always tell him, well, go over here, go over there. And everywhere he told him to go, this black Chrysler was following him. It was a DEA agents from Tucson following him. So that's when Victor told me, he said, yo, your boy is fucking telling on you. Us. That's how Victor becomes my co-defendant. So, but anyway, that there right there is a whole nother story. That fucking, the agents end up taking him and moving him from Arizona, moving him back to New York, and indicted him federally in New York. Even though he didn't get caught in New York, he got indicted in New York. You know what I'm saying? And when I looked at the BOP thing, I seen that they had, you know, put him in the system. But then when I went to look again, I seen that he was released. So you say, how the fuck somebody gets locked up and get released the next day? Why? Because he's cooperating with the feds. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, I knew not to talk to him no more. So anytime I would talk to him, I would take him in front of a big speaker, like at the club, and I would whisper in his ear, like, yo, what the fuck going on, man? You know what I mean? He's like, nah, man, you good, man. So what do you mean I'm good? He said, yo, you good, man. The weed never made it to New York. You good? I said, yeah, they just want to know where the Mexicans, how they're getting it into the country. And blah, he told me a bunch of bullshit stories, you know what I'm saying? But I still never trusted him. I knew he was telling on me. Or I assumed he was telling on me. So, fucking, I just focused up and just started working construction, man. Worked on my business, you know what I mean? And then there was another guy came with wore a Y on me. And he came to the construction company. He's like, yo, I need some help. I said, what do you mean, you need some help? He said, can you help me get some weed from California and New York? This is a year later now. And I tell him, nah, I'm done with the business. I'm done. I'm working my business, I'm out the game. He said, what do you mean you out the game? I said, I'm done, man. He says, damn, man, how a guy like you, and I got the transcripts of him wearing the wire recording on me. This shit is crazy. I never forget it. This was June 23rd of 2011. 1 year later. So then I said to him, yo, my nigga, I'm done. He said, I seen your boy the other day. And I said, who is that? He said, the dude with the bush that drive the white Benz. I said, don't fuck with him. He's a rat. He working with the feds. He said, what do you mean he working with the feds? I said, as I'm telling you. He said, you know what? I heard something like that. And I said, yeah, man. Last year he got caught. And ever since then he came out working with the feds. And he said, what with? I said, yeah, he got caught with 4,400 pounds. And ever since then he's been working with, so don't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? He said, damn, Howie, 4,000 pounds? I go like this. I go, yeah. He said, damn, my nigga, I ain't know you was moving like that. Nigga, I popped my rollie on him. I was like, yeah, nigga, I was busting heavy shots on the low. He was like, word, oh, that's crazy. And you couldn't call me? You couldn't call me and ask me to help you? You know what I'm saying? So you see that statement that I made to him right then and there? I incriminated myself. And they caught me on the wire. And that's how the DEA agent ran to the federal grand jury and got a 1-page indictment on me for conspiracy to possess and distribute 1,000 kilos or more of marijuana, which is a B1A. And that mandatory minimum is 10 years to life. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I end up getting 12 years. Because the judge says, hey man, you keep doing this shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna give you the mandatory minimum of 10. I'm gonna give you a little bit more. And that's how I end up getting a 144-month sentence, which was 12 years. And I end up doing 10 years for that case right then and there.
So that's happened in 2012. So you did 10 years, so that means you got out in 2022, which is kind of recent. Tell me what happened before we end this and we talk about where's Howie at now, and this story keeps getting better because you're doing some amazing stuff. What happens in those 10 years? How do you grow? How do you change? Who do you meet?
Okay, during my incarceration, the 10-year incarceration now, for that case, because I ended up, I met Senator Chuck Schumer. No, Anthony Weiner. Do you know who Anthony Weiner is?
That's the disgraced politician, right?
Right. That's the one that was sending dick pics to the young girl.
Yeah.
But Hillary Clinton is fucking, her aide was what's her name? Monica Lewinsky? Yeah, not Monica Lewinsky. The other girl, Hillary Clinton's top aide.
I'm not for sure.
Yeah, well, I can't remember her name right now. It's a hard name to pronounce. But her husband is Anthony Weiner. So this guy had White House clearance because his wife is like this with Hillary. Anyway, and plus Anthony Weiner is a politician, state politician anyway. He write laws in the state. He's from Brooklyn. So anyway, me and him was in the same prison together. He's in there for the sex crime. I'm in there for weed. You know what I'm saying? He's in a different unit than I am. I'm in the regular population. He's in the pedophile unit. But he works on the rec yard. You know what I'm saying? So I go over there. I always try to educate myself. So I said, you know what? Let me talk to this fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? Let's just spin the track. Let's have a conversation. Because you had White House clearance. I want to know about the White House. I want to know how Bill Clinton is and whatnot. So anyway, we talking, just chopping it up. So he says, Miller, if you don't mind me asking, what are you here for? I said, I'm here for weed, man. A lot of fucking weed. So he goes, oh shit, you know when they change the laws in New York, they got to give you guys a first shot at the license. And I says, oh really? That's good to know. You know what I'm saying? I ain't think nothing of it. I ain't take it with a grain of salt, but I just, you know what I'm saying? He said, yeah, man. So anyway, Anthony Weiner gets out of prison because he finished his sentence. I get out a year later. You know what I'm saying? So when I get out of prison, my oldest brother named Chris said, yo, bro, they might give up the license and all. So I said, what license? Because in my mind, I'm coming home to do construction again. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sell no more weed because the weed game dry up now. You know what I'm saying? And then I said, and I'm good at working construction businesses. I said, I'm going to do construction. But my brother told me about the license. So I said, He said, yeah, man, I've been following this guy on Instagram. And then they're having a meeting and do this, do that, do this, do that. So I said, you know what, Chris? I remember the fucking white boy in prison told me about this goddamn weed shit. They're going to legalize it. My brother said, yeah, man. They're giving out the license to guys like you. What do you see me, guys like me? Guys who was locked up for weed. So I said, he did say something like that. You know what I mean? So if he tells me this in prison 2 years ago, and you're telling me this now, it got to be some truth to it. He said, yeah, man. Follow this guy. Do this, do that. So I did everything my brother told me to do. So I went to the Bronx Museum, and I met Senator Chuck Schumer. So Mr. Schumer was there. You know what I'm saying? So when I met Mr. Schumer, I went up to him, I introduced myself to him and whatnot. I said, Mr. Schumer, I just got out of prison for weed, blah, blah, blah. He was like, you're the guy we're looking for. I said, what do you mean? He said, you see those lawyers over there? I said, yeah. He said, go talk to them. I went over there and talked to the lawyers, and I told them my story. They was like, yo, you're the guy we're looking for. And they was trying to make me the poster child of the movement because they know that I dealt with a lot of money and I understand business. You know what I'm saying? And in order to get the license, you had to have had a business for at least 2 years that showed a profit, and you had to have the conviction. So you would think my federal conviction, I said, well, I got caught with 4,000 pounds and I keep fucking getting caught with weed all my life. You know what I'm saying? They was like, yeah, but do you got a state conviction? I said, I do. He said, what? I said, I got caught with 10 pounds of weed and they caught me on my house, on my roof. That state conviction qualified me to get the fucking license. Not the 4,000 pounds, not all the other crazy shit, but them 10 pounds of weed allowed me to get the license.
So now you got the license eventually. I know you got to go through the paperwork. Talk about your dispensary and being one of the first people, especially of color, to get the license in New York State.
Well, we're the first Jamaican owned dispensary in the state. We currently have 10 people working for us. We're grossing over like $2 million annually. It's me and my brother that's partners, because when I got the license, they asked me if I wanted to include somebody as a partner. And I said, you know what? Since my brother put me on, I'm gonna make him my partner. You know what I mean? But I have the controlling share. In this, I'm a card program. I'm in the card program. And the card is conditional adult use retail dispensary. It's abbreviated. That's what the card is. So the first set of licenses they was giving out, which was 300 licenses, is called a card license. And I'm one of the card members. That's how I have my license. So in order, you have to have, as I was telling you, the state conviction, and you had to have a profitable business for 2 years, which I had demonstrated. I had the construction company, you know, that we made a profit, you know, all that type of stuff. So I had to get them so much paperwork, you know what I mean, on top of paperwork in order to get this. And keep in mind now, I had owed $324,000 in taxes. You know what I'm saying? So, excuse me, that's what kind of held me back a little bit. You know what I mean? I had to clear up those taxes in order to get my license, you know, which took me a few months, but I broke a deal with the state and, you know, got them to drop the penalties and the interest, and then I owed them $124,000, and then I had to broker a deal with them and just paid them off straight up, like, yo, here. And as soon as they did that, they wiped my slate clean, and the OCM was waiting on me to give me the license. They was like, Mr. Miller, we can't give you this license until you clear up that. So I'm in negotiations back and forth, you know what I mean? I said, okay, I'm coming. Yo, state, you gotta move faster because OCM is trying to give me this license and y'all holding me up. I wanna pay y'all, but y'all, you know, work a deal with me. So I ended up working a deal with the state, paid them off cash, got them out the way. And as soon as I did that, the OCM gave me my license.
What a story, brother.
Yeah.
What you're doing over at Two Buzz Dispensary is amazing. To hear from where you started at to where you at now is a beautiful thing. I know me and you got some more plans in the work where I'm definitely going the next couple of weeks gonna come do the tour of the shop that you offer me. And I just want to say I really appreciate you for taking the time to share your story, share your journey. And I'm pretty sure this won't be the last time a lot of people will be hearing about your story, man.
I built the store myself.
I appreciate you, man, and thank you for being on. I wasn't supposed to be here.
No problem, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yo, that was good, bro.
It is what it is, man.